So what I wanted to talk about today is kind of an interesting topic, and it comes up, it's really, really interesting, how when the markets are good and strong, all of a sudden, the market shifts one way, and then when the market's really soft and painful, it shifts dramatically the other way. So where we are now is we're at a time where it's perceived as a seller's market. There's more buyers than there are sellers. And when that happens, what happens is there's sort of different ways to market your property. Obviously, there's, what I view as the preferential way to, hire a professional that is experienced. And I think that experience, you hear me talking about that an awful lot, but experience is really key when you're out making your selection. Everybody's an expert in real estate, but to have somebody working for you that has a couple of hundred to a couple of thousand transactions under their belt is going to be much more suited to look after your needs to the best of their ability than somebody that is maybe doing their first transaction or has done 5 or less in their entire life. So during this time, 2 things come forward. One, of course, is for sale by owner. Whether it's just a straight up for sale by owner, I decided to put a sign in my front yard and I'm going to sell it by myself, or there are some companies that sell a little packet for sale by owner, so it costs you a little fee to get some signs and maybe they'll list you on the MLS. And then there's limited agency relationships where, we'll put it in the MLS and we'll put it on a couple of websites online, but you schedule all the showings, you do all the things, you do the contract. When you get the contract done, send it back to us and we'll collect our fee for it. So what I wanted to do was just sort of talk about those a little bit, and I brought a couple of different articles in, and of course I'm always asking for your calls and input, but I brought in not only articles that deal with the advantages of using a professional agent as not, and also some that are from the what is this here forsalebyowner.com, which talks about the do's and don'ts of what not to do, and it's really kind of funny. It's one of those things where when we're reading things and we want to hear it, we hear what we want to hear, and we don't hear what we don't want to hear. But what I'm going to do with that is sort of bring a couple of things to the table. And the first, and I think that the one that if anybody before they find themselves in that situation is just fair and honest to themselves, they'll realize some of the flaw that is in the for sale by owner mindset. One, from a buyer's perspective, it doesn't cost you anything more to have representation, to have somebody look after your best interest, somebody that's knowledgeable and experienced to help you not only look at the selection of properties that are there, but also navigate the contracting, plus any repair addendums that may come up, maybe even help you through the financing and get the deal closed and make it all happen. Doesn't cost you a thing. So just because a seller decides that they choose to go non-represented doesn't necessarily mean that the buyer wants to make that same choice. He doesn't really have any skin in the game. And the bottom line, the absolute bottom line, is there's no way that 2 people can share or can save money in the same transaction. So if someone has been using the comparable sales up and down the street, and mind you, those comparable sales generally have real estate commissions and fees associated with them, so they're a little bit higher price value to begin with. But then they figure, well, no, I'm going to save that money and I'm going to make more money by selling it. Then that means that basically the buyer is going to have to come and pay you full price, whatever price you think your property is worth. So there's sort of a flaw in going into the whole scenario, before it even gets off. And the things that are of concerns, it's really interesting, but in my do's and don'ts article, that's where I'll go. Because I found something that was pretty funny, at least to me, in the article, once again from forsale.com, forsalebyowner.com, and that's that, the things that real estate agents won't tell you is they won't tell you that nobody knows more about your property than you do. That's 100% correct. You bought the property. You know more about it. You did the improvements to the property. So obviously you do know the property. But that's not all of the deal. It's really, really hard to negotiate your property when you did the improvements. Let's say you took a tile class over at Home Depot, and the man chose blue and the woman chose pink or mauve. And she's always wanted a pink or mauve bathroom, and he's loved blue. Well, blue is really a weird color. It doesn't play well with the other colors. It doesn't even play well with other blues. So, go in and you do your tile countertops and backsplashes. You put the soak tub in the sink. You do in the master bedroom. Boy, this is beautiful. I really, really love it. Everybody else that walks into that house is going to know two things. One, the color, and they're going to say, oh boy, that really works for me, or it doesn't. And then the other one is when you do it yourself, once again, it doesn't look the same as having a professional, seasoned, experienced tile setter come in and do a good job in there. But because of your emotional ownership in the property and in those improvements, you certainly don't want to sit there and listen to somebody look at your work and go, phew, what were you thinking when you did that? And that's where, just in the simplest form, that's where having brokers come in, add a third party to it. They take the emotion out of the negotiation process, not only there, but in the repairs and all of that. And right at the top of this ForSaleByOwner.com article is, one of the things that you should do is make a provision to pay the buyer's broker so that you don't deny them coming. By denying them coming means that you're not going to be able to sell your home to somebody that's using FHA or VA loans. You're not going to be able to really finance it to someone that's tight on their down payment money for their financing, because if you're requiring that they have to pay their agent or their attorney, whomever it may be, that means that you're going to miss out on potential people out there in the market. And truly, the game of value, of real market value, is exposure. Having the property exposed to as many ready, willing, and able buyers as you possibly can, and that will help you get the best price for your property. To use a broker, not to use a broker, is everything really fair and honest, and do you save as much money as you really think that you're going to, and what are the risks and liability? There's a whole host of issues. And I think last week, one of the things that we talked about, I thought it was fun. To me, it's funny, and hopefully you find it funny as well, is that, everybody is an expert in real estate. Everybody from, your hairdresser or a barber to your dog groomer to the waiter at the restaurant has an opinion on how to do real estate and what it's about. And also, those people that have done a little bit of real estate or bought a short sale or did something like that, they're a little bit like gamblers. They tell you about the gross figures, but they don't tell you about the bottom line, the actual after cost expenses of doing it. I think that I've mentioned previously that, wow, all those realtors are out there getting rich. They're in the $1 million club, but the $1 million club really, by the time it all digests down, only accounts to about $15,000. It's not like it's a ton of dough. And I don't know about most folks, but $15,000 a year minus your operating expenses and minus your taxable event, that's pretty lean living in Bend. That puts you well below affordable housing. So when you kind of take a look at what that means, let's just say you got a $200,000 house, and you say, I'm going to sell it for sale by owner because I don't want to pay a 6% fee. Well, 6% fee is $12,000. And yeah, by golly, that is a lot of money. Okay, but what happens with that $12,000? Or let's say you negotiate the contract to 5% and it's $10,000. Well, the first thing that this for sale by owner thing says is first make a provision to pay at least half of that fee to the buyer's broker so that they can hold the hand of the first time home buyer, because they're going to require a lot of hand holding. Well, if I take that $10,000 or $12,000 and I divide it in half, now I'm saving $5,000 or $6,000. Okay, well, that'd be great if I got my full price and I did it. But then beyond that, the job is really to get as many people to the property as possible. We all love our homes. We all have memories. We've done improvements. It's very, very personal. It's very, very emotional. Our house, of course, is worth more than those folks that live up on the center and they park their car in the front yard, and they, don't do their yard work, and our house is obviously $30,000 worth more than their house. But to just simply put a sign in the front yard, and or as in this article, put an ad in Craigslist, really isn't the exposure where you're going to be able to bring the most available potential buyers at any given time to come to your property so that you can get the best offer and terms for that property. And So knowing that when you hire particularly a full service agency, they're not only going to use their relationship with all of the other brokers in the community, they're going to use the MLS. They also pay additional money with the Trulias, the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, so that their properties are actually it's called a premium fee, where they premium so that when people are searching in the neighborhood, your property as listed will come closer to the top and be much easier to find. So then what happens is when someone's out looking to purchase a property, they've got the sign on the street, the color flyer, the MLS system, all of the aggregated websites that are there. All of the brokers, I think there's currently 1,800 brokers in Central Oregon, know about that property being on the market. So the likelihood is much better of having a greater number of people, if the property is priced effectively for its value and where it is, of having a great number of people show up and potentially take a look at that property, than it is just simply going out in the front yard and putting a sign in the front yard that says for sale by owner and hope somebody drives down your cul-de-sac and sees your property. So when we're looking at that, and I guess I'm just going to go through this one here, which is just 8 listings. I brought in 6 different articles because I was loaded for bear to be able to go all different direction here. But one of the things that we've talked about here is that one of the things that for sale by owners do is they have to make the arrangements to show their own house. Well, you're working, you're going to work, you're taking calls during work, and you have absolutely no idea how qualified the person is that's giving you a call. You don't know if they're a neighbor or a friend or somebody up the street or whatever. And they're saying, well, gosh, I'd really like to see that property at 12:30 today. So you bust home on your lunch break, you run the vacuum cleaner, you get it all ready to go. You're standing there at 12:30, you're standing there at 12:45, you're standing there at 1 o'clock, nobody shows up. Well, not only do you not know if they're qualified, you don't know if they're realistically going to do that. And you can't really take time from your workday to live in your home like it's a model home and set up these appointments for people to come by sort of onesie-twosie, or take a Saturday afternoon and sit in your house and do an open house. Even to those of us that are in the real estate business, in all honesty, here's a here's a deep secret that not a lot of brokers will tell you. When they're doing an open house, they know full well before they show up at that open house that the likelihood of that selling that particular house is very, very remote. The home what will happen is those buyers that are out there in that price point, it gives the opportunity to have a meeting to where you can talk to them about maybe other homes, this home that may fit their need. Every now and again, yes, every now and again, they're going to buy the home on an open house. But truly, that happens a very, very small percentage of the time. So, if you're trying to do it yourself, you don't have the ability to negotiate. You're probably not really fair. You're emotionally charged by the improvements and by the things that you've done. I kind of got an interesting little quote here where it says that, to check the urgency, to have somebody in between, to have a broker that's working for you that can turn that criticism, like we said earlier there, let's say they didn't really like the tile work and they want to adjust the price accordingly. Well, you can't really have that discussion with the person that did that work because they're emotionally attached to it and they think it's beautiful. And maybe they did it 10 years ago in colors that were done 10 years ago that aren't popular colors today. The new carpet. Yeah, we just put new carpet in. Well, it's 5 years old and you got dogs. So there's a bias as an owner that my property is worth more than those up the street. And they choose not to see some of the things that they're very, very comfortable with that a potential purchaser may not be comfortable with. And conversely, acting as a sales agent, when that offer comes in, to have your broker be able to go back and say, well, the seller really wasn't willing to accept the offer as it was written, but they did, however, make the attached counteroffer. And what we'd like to do is talk that through and be able to go through. Well, then see, suddenly it's not only at the offer of the price, but it's also as you negotiate through, almost every time when you have a home inspector, there's going to be something that's going to need a little attention. And there's, of course, always the issues of the disclosure statements, the legal mandates, and the legal repercussions. And have a licensed real estate broker working for you that is regulated by conduct, and in the event that they're not adhering to their ethical bounds and doing the right thing, you have some recourse. It's far, far better to hire a seasoned real estate professional. And if you would like any additional information, don't hesitate to give me a call, look for some recommendations, or send me an email, fred@dukewarner.com. But until next week, I hope you get out there and have some fun and enjoy living in Central Oregon. Thanks so much for tuning in today.